Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Create, Repair, Restore. My name's Anthony. My last video is well over 20,000 views at this point, which is amazing, and I really appreciate all the love and support I've gotten from you guys. I only have about 300 subscribers on this channel, so please hit that like and subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. I'm going to make a real honest run at this YouTube thing and post 1 to 2 videos a week from now on. We'll have some more bus conversions, van conversions in the future, as well as small engines, a little bit of household repair, just kind of everything hands-on. So without further ado, this is going to be our candidate for today, and let's get started on it. Alright guys, this is our surgery candidate for the day. See, Ryobi 2800 PSI pressure washer, powered by a Honda 160 motor. Unfortunately, it is locked up, but I thought that would make for a good video, see if we can get it unlocked. And what locked up means is, in this case, I think because it's been sitting outside, moisture kind of got up in through the exhaust, and it caused the piston ring to rust to the cylinder walls. So we're going to get some penetrating oil, pull the plug out, stick that down in there, and let it sit for a while and see if we can get this thing unstuck. And you know, that being said, it probably needs some other stuff. I don't know if it has spark. I don't know if the carburetor's dirty. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right guys, so let's get started with this thing. Like I said, it is locked up. You can see if I yank on this, it won't go anywhere. I can look down into the pull start and see that it's not, bound up from just leaves or debris being in there kind of thing. So I know the engine itself is actually locked up. Now that I'm yanking on it a little bit, I do get a tiny bit of movement out of the engine, so it gives me a little bit of hope. It could just be the pull start kind of flexing and getting ready to brake on me, but I do feel like I'm getting a tiny bit of rock back and forth from the motor. So before we do anything else, let's pull this spark plug out of here. All right, so let's get this plug out of here. So, as I get this plug out, your spark plug can tell you a lot about the condition of the engine on the inside. If that'll focus. Unfortunately, this one doesn't look great. It's got a lot of carbon built up on it, as you can see on the threads, and then the diode here is just completely rusted, which kind of explains why. If it'll focus for me, kind of explains why this motor is locked up. There's probably been water or moisture down in at least that far into the cylinder. So let's just hope the penetrating oil can do its thing and get us going. I'm going to clean this spark plug up on a wire wheel, and we're going to get some penetrating oil down into that cylinder. All right, so this is just whatever penetrating oil I happen to have laying around today, and we're just going to really fill that thing up, soak it as best we can. And preferably you want to use something that's flammable, at least that way when you try to go to start it, it doesn't kind of make your life a nightmare if it does free up. All right, so that seems nice and full now. Let's let that sit for a couple of hours and we'll be back. All right, so that looks a lot better now. So let's get that back in the engine. Well, the threads feel a lot cleaner, that's for sure. And when you put the plug back in, you want to make sure you just snug it up. You don't want them too tight. So this motor's been sitting for a good few hours now. As you saw, I cleaned off that spark plug, got that back in the engine now. So let's go ahead and give this thing a yank, and fingers crossed it'll go for us. All right, there we go. It didn't even really put up too much of a fight. So let's get one more rotation. It does have a bit of a sticky spot, so I'm gonna keep working through this, pull it a few more times, and hopefully that sticky spot will sort of clear up for us. Yeah, it's starting to clear up for us now. And it feels like it has compression. Actually, I can hear it, which is great news. All right, so now we can move on to the rest of the systems that need to be there in order for everything to work. I already looked in the tank. There is no fuel in here, so it looks like either somebody drained it or ran it out of fuel the last time it was run, which is good news for our carburetor because the petcock was left in the open position. The petcock is the valve that allows fuel to come down from the fuel tank and go down to the carburetor, which leads me to believe the carburetor on this looks fairly clean when I peek down its throat with a flashlight since there was no gas in it. So I think we're going to move on to see if we have spark, and then if we do, I'll put some fresh gas in this thing and we'll try to get it to fire up. All right, y'all. So in order to check for spark, we have pulled the spark plug out. We've plugged into our spark plug lead, our wire here, and we've got it grounded out on a nice clean piece of metal. This base piece needs to be touching something metal. And then I'm just going to give a yank, and hopefully, if we're lucky, we're going to have spark here, and we should be able to see it right at the end of that lead, at the end of this spark plug. All right, looks like we have spark. Hopefully y'all could see that. Yep, we have a nice clean spark. I'll do it one more time. All right, great news. So let's get this plug back in and we'll be in business. All right, y'all, and again, you really don't want to over tighten spark plugs, so we're gonna thread this in by hand as far as we can get it. Snug it in there by hand. And then we're going to take our ratchet and give it just a little snug, not too much pressure. Should be good to go. Make sure your spark plug lead is pressed on there nice and firm. I'm also going to check in this air box right now before we put some gas in it and attempt to start it up. Since it has been sitting, you want to always make sure that you don't have any mice nests or like nastiness in here, and I think the camera should be able to pick that up okay. It looks nice and clean in here. This filter is a little bit dirty, but no debris or leaves or anything, so it's clean enough that we can at least try to start it up with this. All right, y'all, so last step before we try to get this thing started is with a pressure washer, you always have to have the water hooked up when you're trying to run it, otherwise you can very quickly burn out the pump. So I've got my garden hose connected to it. I'm gonna get our wand connected, and then we're gonna try to give this thing a rip. All right, so I'm just letting the air pressure out. That's always a great idea, just kind of hold the trigger while you're attempting to start a pressure washer. Let's give this thing a few rips and hopefully she fires off for us. Put our safety on. All right, we are fighting the fact there's a little oil in the cylinders, so I think it's getting ready to start for us. All right, see all that oil burning off in those cylinders. Let's give it another yank. So it did start up and run. The pump was working a little bit intermittently. I'm hoping that starts to clean up. And what I mean by the pump, the pressure pump on this thing, it would have water pressure 1 second and then it would fade out, and then it would water pressure 1 second and then fade out. It was getting a little more consistent the longer I ran it. So let's give it one more try, and hopefully it evens out and we have a nice working pressure washer for us. All right, so excellent. It did even out. It is working. It might need a little bit of fiddling with the carburetor, and I'm going to change the oil on it for sure now that it's up and running. But it does run decent, and we saved one from the scrapyard, which is always great. Again, please like and subscribe to the channel if you like content like this, and for future content with more bus and van conversions. Thank you very much, guys.